Hello, everybody, and welcome to Robert Sarazin Blake from the Kitchen Table. I'm Robert Sarazin Blake. This is the Kitchen Table, and can we have a nice big round of applause? Finally, we have a live audience with us again here on this Sunday. Yeah, we are broadcasting to you live from Mason Street, Seaholm Hill, the north side of Seaholm Hill, which still gets a little bit of sunshine at 5:30 in the afternoon Pacific. That's where we are right here, right now. Thank you. Welcome to everybody in this live audience, and welcome to everybody who is joining us around the world, wherever you may be. It's a big old kitchen table. It stretches from here to there and all over the place, and it is, of course, Mother's Day today. We will be celebrating mothers, grandmothers, and sisters and aunts and all the women that make our lives so wonderful. Special shout out to my mother down in Burien, who I know is watching the show, even though she probably has been blaming herself for the fact that the stream hasn't been happening. She's probably been thinking that it's her fault and she doesn't know how to use the Facebook or the laptop or whatever it is. No, it's not your fault, Mom. It's our fault. But we're here to you now. We're here to you now. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Camera's over there. I got to remember that. Going to start off with a song I recorded 10 years ago for my grandmother, Maxine. Maxine didn't have a garden, she lived in a condo. Came over to my house after school and we'd go walking for cans, looking for cans, collecting cans. When Maxine grew up, her parents weren't around. She rooted for the underdog whenever there was a game on. She gave me a drink at 13, said if it's all right with your father. She drank Manhattans, well it's all right with me. I'd stop by her place, sometimes early in the morning. We'd have what she liked to call a treat, and I learned it from my grandma. It's never really too early. Something I learned from my grandma. Maxine taught me God is love that led to confusion later on. When I met Christians, she let me help her light the candle on the altar. The church was dark and cool. There were mostly old people there. And after church we would go walking for cans, looking for cans, collecting cans. So punk rock was not new to me. My grandmother dived in dumpsters, brought home treasures for the family. My father shook his head as she offered him a beer found in her favorite place. Drink up, she said, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I learned it from my grandma. What you offer me, I'll take it. Something I learned from my grandma. At her funeral, the priest, he had written a poem entitled Tin Can Lady. She was somewhat well known. Think of her often, and every now and then I get the urge to go pick up a... In school they teach you, if we all act in our own best interest, it'll be best for everyone involved. I learned resistance from my grandma. Tell my teachers I don't believe. Something I learned from my grandma. Oh, thank you very much. The wheels fell off the bus here for a little while, but I think we're rolling down the track now. David, are we doing all right over there? All right, are we doing good enough that you can play music with me yet? Nope, we are not, but hopefully we get there, because this man, far to my far right, got into this business to play music, but there he is, connecting the ones and the zeros, the cables and the screams, so that we can be all together when we're not all together. And that was really, really, really something for that first year of this. And for those kitchen table irregulars out there, it's still really cool that they can be with us. We're talking about the people who watch us week in, week out, and they have a drink of the week, these people. They've never met each other, but they chat to each other in the comments. And you can become a kitchen table irregular. There's no fee. Exactly. I mean, it's just kitchen table irregulars are irregular people who watch us regularly. And that's all that they are. And we love them and welcome them here along with the people who are watching us just like it's a regular concert. I always like to play this song on Mother's Day, written by Michael Smith. Sister Clarissa could have been on the stage, but Jesus came over, told her he'd rather her teach 5th grade. Sister Clarissa is engaged to our Lord. He promised to take her to heaven. He never goes back on his word. Sister Clarissa is 11 feet tall, and her rosary hangs, and it clatters and it clangs as she walks down the hall. Somehow you know summer's over. Who made me? God made me to know him, to love him, to serve him in this world, and to be happy with him forever. Sister Clarissa believes in free will, the forgiveness of sins, the communion of saints, and a quiet fire drill. And when she hugs you, she hugs too tight. She gives you a star on the forehead for spelling Connecticut right. Well, maybe God made me to know him, to love him, to serve him in this world, and to be happy with him forever. Many years later, on a memory walk through the old wooden doors, old corridors dusted with years of chalk, you see Sister Clarissa, and she looks just the same, and the sound of a rosary still brings a chill. She remembers your name, and the years slip away as though they've never been, and you hear yourself saying, yes, sister, no, sister, like you were 10. You're so glad to see that she's still the same way, and you tell you love her before you go over to her fiancé. Before she goes over to her fiancé. Well, maybe God made me to know him, to love him, to serve him in this world, and to be happy with him forever. Thank you very much. Again, that's a Michael Smith song called Sister Clarissa, and I'm wondering how we're doing over there. I'm not getting the vibe that David is ready to come over to the music station yet, and we're just big thanks. We have David Penderlofgren and John Henry over here connecting everything to make this happen. Put your hands together for my associates. I forgot to ask the trivia question. The trivia question of the day is riffing off the fact we have the great Jim Page as our guest today. He'll be coming on in a little bit. So excited to hear Jim play. And Jim, I think for the second time, although maybe there's more in there, and I'll have him fill me in on that, has a song that is covered by the great Irish singer Christy Moore. The first song was Hiroshima Nagasaki Russian Roulette, recorded by Christy Moore years ago. Christy Moore was in the most famous Irish band, or maybe not most famous, but inarguably the most important Irish band of the 70s. That's Planxty. But what band was Christy Moore in after Planxty? That's the trivia question. And normally at this point we would encourage people to write in the answer in the comments, and I'm not sure if the comment land, how that's working out there, so you just get to think about it, and we'll talk about it more when it's time for the third song check-in. But we're only at song number 2 here, which means I'm going to keep playing. The answer, Jim? Yeah, I know the answer too. Yeah. I didn't have to look that one up. Well, in fact, I was running late on the trivia question, so then I thought, well, I better ask something I know the answer to rather than something I don't know the answer to, because it's always awkward when I don't know. Of course, I only remember to say the answer to the trivia question at the kitchen table a strong 60% of the time, which in that case is not so critical that I know it if I don't remember to say it. Where were we? Shabby, drab, and gray. Oh, I'm watching you back of the room, trying to figure out something to say. And you move with such authority, I can't help but be moved. You flow from the hallway to the living room. In this crowded college party, in this crowded college town, you're the only one I see. Oh, I'm watching you from the back of the room. It's the nights alone, shabby, drab, and gray. I'm watching you from the back of the room, trying to figure out something to say. I came around as the sun was going down. I stayed a while and then went on my way. I came back around, I saw you in the corner. Now I'm hanging out, and I'm hoping you'll come closer. Everyone's having a good time, not thinking much at all. As usual, the party's in the kitchen and the hall. This crowded conversation is void of any feeling. Little being said here is worth believing, and I'm watching you from the back of the room. 'Cause my nights alone, shabby, drab, and gray. Oh, I'm watching you back of the room, trying to figure out something to say. Now the party's slowing down, they've turned the music low. The dancing stopped when the cake ran out an hour ago. And I'm not really staying as much as I'm not leaving. You're still here and I'm still believing that you're watching me from the corner of the room, with your hands in your pockets and your heart wrapped in a loom. And in the crowded collage of the things you think and see, you can't help but think of me. Oh, I'm watching you. Many times in the last 25 years, I have never once performed this song with a Bowron featured on the outro. That's what we're doing today. That's David Penderloughlin. He's put on a new hat. A round of applause, bringing him to the stage. I'm watching you from the back of the room. It's my nights alone, shabby, drab, and gray. Oh, I'm watching you from the back of the room. Oh, something to say. Now for the third song check-in. That's our chance to see what's going on out there in comment land, and these fellas have been working so hard to pull the show together. I don't think they've had a chance to read the comments. Has anybody been reading the comments on their phone out there? Okay, we don't know what's going. Terry, is anything going on in comment land?
People were just wondering about the technical difficulties.
Yeah, I bet they were. Yeah. Clay Fried thought that perhaps the reason we weren't going live yet is that I was singing Simon and Garfunkel songs, and that I didn't want to share that with anybody but the intimate audience. And that was a suggestion. It's not the truth, but you know what? Let's have that be the truth, because why let the facts get in the way of a good story? The reason it was a half hour late is that for the mothers in the audience collectively requested Simon and Garfunkel, so I did 25 minutes of Simon and Garfunkel before going live, and that's what happened here at 903 Mason. Uh-oh, did I just say that? Well, for the live stream audience here, thank you so much for your support. We do suggest a donation, and we have these little cards we're going to pass out here. And for those of you listening on the line, you can see there in the heading of the event where you can make a donation. That keeps us going. And the answer, of course, to the trivia question, any guesses from the audience? What band was Christy Moore in after Planksty? And some might say, hey, it's a trick question. He was in Planksty off and on for so long, there was no after Planksty. But the answer to the question would be most honestly the Moving Hearts. The Moving Hearts was Christy Moore's band after that. And if nothing else, I've helped turn you on a little bit to Christy Moore's career. Happy about that. And what else are we going to say? We're going to let you know that we are rolling every Sunday through the end of July. So find us again in the backyard again, or please when you're at home in the garden or making your Sunday supper, tune in to the live stream. And we're happy to have you with us. David, what else should we tell them? Are you still alive?
Do I have a microphone here? I don't know. Check 1 2. Check a. Hey, hi everyone. Thanks for bearing with us through the technical difficulties. What do we have to say? I don't know. I mean, it looks like there's a healthy number of viewers that made it, even though we were half an hour late. Maybe they just needed a time to mix their gin and tonic, which is the drink of the week. And of course, if you want to find out more about the drink of the week or any other information, you can join the Facebook group that is the Kitchen Table of Regulars. Did you already do that part? Have we done this already?
No, not exactly.
Great.
I've talked a lot about it, and I think it's done now.
I'm done then.
Well, yeah. Well, you'll be back. We're going to do 2 beats with the drummer today. But we don't know. I'm going to do a song now recorded on my record called The Beautiful in the Afternoon. This is my song from my mother, my Mother's Day song. About 15 years ago, something like 15 years ago, my mother called me and said, would you like to join me? I'm going to New York this weekend. And I said, yes, I would. I didn't need any more explanation than that. I said, yes, I would. But then the story got revealed. My mother, late in life, found her mother. My mother was adopted. Late in life, she found her mother. Her mother was living in Osney, New York, home of the Sing Sing prison. My grandmother was not in the Sing Sing prison, just happened to be in the same place as the prison was. And my mother found her and wrote my grandmother a letter. And my new grandmother, wrote back to my mother and said, thank you for finding me. I've always wondered about you. I am so happy to hear you're okay and you have kids and it worked out. You've really brought home, completed a circle of my life that otherwise was incomplete. And my mother said, I'd like to meet you. And to that, my new grandmother replied, I cannot meet you. I cannot meet you. I never told anyone about you. Nobody knows about you. I'm 79 years old. I can't start telling people now. A week later, she got a letter. My mother got a letter that said, my son who I live with is going out of town for the weekend. Could you come and visit then? That's when I got the call, so I joined my mother and we got on the red-eye flight and flew from SeaTac to JFK. And I'm used to weird circumstances and late nights and sleeping in all kinds of places, so I fell asleep on that flight from SeaTac to JFK. My mother is not used to meeting her mother, so she did not sleep on the plane whatsoever. We landed in JFK and rented a PT Cruiser and drove up to Osney, and I got to meet my new grandmother and got to be with my mother when she met her mother for the first time. Granddad was a chancer, might never met grandmother a romancer. I suppose she lost the bet. Other was an accident, no one knew the better. She was born and abandoned and adopted undercover. Under cover of the night, the Catholics kept things tight. Lips don't speak, truth kept discreet and kept out of sight. Out of sight, so no one would know. There was nothing new about Elvis. It was always rock and roll. In the spirit of the World War, everything was done in haste. Condoms were rubber, there was no rubber to waste. All Mary, 2 men told her twice. 2 times burned, she never saw any rise. By March, she had taken a job away from home. Went to an orphanage, had that baby all alone. But she never told anyone a thing. Just told herself it's just a dream. Granddad went on down the line, I suppose he never knew. Went to fight for Roosevelt, heart red, white, blue. He danced with some French girls the day they won the fight. And he never thought about the gal in the California night. California night, and the band was doing as they should. Put a sparkle in their eyes as they walked to the woods. California night, and I'm glad they did what they did. They made my mother, and of course, I'm her kid. Granddad was a chancer, him I'll never meet. I wonder if I got his eyes, I'm grateful for his feet. Maybe he's one of those old guys, you know, kinda hangs around. Chances are good he's gone and lying in the ground. Grandmother never got the love she deserved. Kept her shame to herself as she walked the earth. But the shackles we have are the ones we choose to keep. When I met her, she told me it's just like a dream. It's just like a dream. Grandmother was a chancer. Thank you. Was kind of expecting to jump in there at some point, David. Yeah.
This is taken by the moment.
Well, I'm going to do one more, and then we have the great Jim Page here to sing for us on this Mother's Day Sunday here in the most northwest corner, the most northwest city, most northwest state in the lower 48, where I am. It's getting to be sort of guiltily in the hot seat while I see the rest of you fall into the shade and cool down. And all I can say is thank you. That's all I can say, because I'm still feeling the sun. And none of us, to the live audience, or to the streaming audience, if you're not from the Northwest, you don't know what it's been like. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to not see the sun for so very long. I did wake up this morning, went out in the yard, and said, you know, this is not too bad for an early April morning. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. All right. Do one more, and then we'll have Jim Page come up. I'm sticking with the Mother's Day theme because it's Mother's Day. This song comes from Tony Reedy of Westport, Ireland. I remember the day, I remember it well. 15th of August, we cycled to town. And over the hills, we stood on the pedals. On the feast of the Assumption of Mary into heaven. I took a picture of you with my Brownie 127 1962, and your smile in a sky of blue was all I could ask for to feel the view. Innocent times, a mother and son, trying to be saints as we cycle along. Summer dress, you looked your best. Way back then, I was only 10. Bikes in the shade, a good crowd in town. We talked to the neighbors, cycled back home. Home to the house, and home to the place where I grew up and played before your sad days came. I took a picture of you in a summery dress, 1962. Innocent times, a mother and son, trying to be saints as we cycle along. Innocent times, a mother and son, trying to be saints as we cycle along. Innocent times, a mother and son, trying to be saints as we cycle along. A song from the great Tony Reedy, a man I look up to and aspire to learn from almost as much as I do my friend Jim Page here. Bring him up to the stage. He's so patient and gracious with our operation tonight. Jim, we welcome you warmly to the kitchen table. Jim has been broadcasting from a den throughout this pandemic. The Bobcat Den. And we're happy to see you outside of the den here in the open air. And we're lucky to have Jim at the Jamboree last summer. That was a wonderful set. And here we are now in the most northwest corner, the most northwest city, the most northwest state in the lower 48. My friend Jim Page.
Thank you, Robert. That was a nice set.
Thank you.
I like those songs. I like that drum. I like this weather. What it has become. You know, I like the rain. I like it when it turns gray. Because I know, first of all, I know it's not going to stay that way. And second of all, there's something beautiful. You know, Johnny Cash went to Ireland, and he wrote a song called 40 Shades of Green. That's right. You don't get 40 shades of green without a lot of gray. Because that green has to grow, you know. So one of these days I'm going to write a song called 40 Shades of Gray. I've gotten close a couple of times, but you know, not all the way. The kitchen table. That's right. I'm waiting for the grub. Kitchen table. I know it's coming. This song's called Mr. Grouter. Now, I was messing around with it earlier on, just kind of doing some improv stuff while the sound was getting fixed and set up. And, you know, you folks back home don't know what we went through out here. I mean, it was harrowing, man. There was some wounded people had to be taken off, and all the place almost burnt down. I mean, it was something, right? You don't have to see that. Just be glad that you don't have to see what we have to go through to do this. Ain't that right? Now I'm a 60s kind of a guy. I graduated from high school in California in 1967, right? Directly into the welcoming arms of Stanley Augustus Owsley III. That's right. Open that head of yours, bend those straight lines. Hello world, here I am. And back then in those days when I learned to play the guitar, everybody had political songs. And if you didn't have political songs, you had observations in the non-political songs. The songs were directly connected to the outside world. You know, I mean, they were. And that's what I learned from, and that's kind of what I still do in my way. I'm not saying these are old songs, disconnected, but there's a through line. So up in Seattle, back in the 70s, if I may be so bold, I'm told, when the weather gets cold, you gotta warm up by being bold. And back in the 70s, I did volunteer work with the Black Panther Party in Seattle chapter, the second chapter in the nation. Started in Seattle. Me and Ron Johnson travel around. Elmer would pick us up in the morning, we'd travel around. One day I was serving breakfast there at the Yesler Terrace Housing Project. And Ron says to me, when I was cleaning up afterwards, he said, "See that man out there? There's a man out there walking his dog. A local lives in the Yesler Terrace Housing Project." I said, "Yeah?" He said, "That's Mr. Grouter. You go out there and talk to that man. There's a song in that man." Now, I trusted Ron. I trusted his judgment. He was engaged, you know? And when you're engaged, it's different. So I went out and introduced myself. I said, "Good morning. My name is Jim Page." He said, "Hello, my name is Frank Grouter. I'm going back to Louisiana." I said, "Are you now?" He said, "Yes. I'm going back to Louisiana." Every second sentence was, "I'm going back to Louisiana." So I wrote him this song. And it's all true. And the party's in there, the Black Panther Party's in there, and Ron Johnson's in there. And the Yesler Terrace Housing Project. And what was going on, and you'll hear it. You gotta couch things in the right sort of language to get it by. It goes like this. Every day early in the morning, when the sunlight arises, cutting through the fog, footsteps off the sound around the corner. It's Mr. Grouter walking with his dog. "Good morning, Mr. Grouter, tell me how you doing." Oops. I'm sorry, I've been standing over there listening to Robert singing. I got my verses all mixed up. I'm going to start again. Every day early in the morning, when the sunlight arises, cutting through the fog, footsteps softly sound around the corner. It's Mr. Grouter walking with his dog. The coat collar up, warm against the weather. He got his captain's cap riding in place. The daylight brightens and the mist is lifting. It's another new day, you can see it on his face. I'm going back to Louisiana. One of these days going back to Louisiana. But till then, this is where I am. I'm gonna stay. never made much money in the money world. He never learned to read or to write so well. He never had a vote because he couldn't read the ballot. Oh, but he could see fine as clear as a bell. Younger man. Changes came and left him stranded, and put him out of walking with time on his hands. Going back to Louisiana, one of these days going back to Louisiana, but till then, this is where I am. Stay. Now who would ever steal an old man's money? How's he gonna pay for the rent? This old man had friends and neighbors, and they knew about the way things went. So they had a little talk with the landlord, and they taught Mr. Crowder how to sign his name. And they ran those thieves so far out of town that they never came back again. Going back to Louisiana, one of these days going back to Louisiana, but till then, this is where I am gonna stay. I'm going back to Louisiana, one of these days going back to Louisiana, but till then, this is where I am gonna stay. So every day early in the morning, with his best friend Curly walking by his side, that was his dog, thinking about family relations. Way down south is a mighty long ride. Good morning, Mr. Crowder, tell me how you doing. Oh, it's a mighty fine day with the sun so bright. Tell me, have you got any plans for the future? Well, I'm gonna take a trip if it works out right. Where you going? I'm going back to Louisiana. One of these days going back to Louisiana, but till then, this is where I am gonna stay. I'm going back to Louisiana. One of these days going back to Louisiana, but till then, this is where I am gonna stay. Yeah, right here. They got some good people in this town.
Welcome, Jim, to the kitchen table.
Oh, thank you.
I would say, are you feeling all right? But I can tell you're feeling all
I'm
right. But
fine, man. This
Yeah.
is a blast. This is a really sweet. For those of you that are home on the other end of the digital highway, so to speak, or the digital, what's those nerves that go to your eyeball? What is the name for them?
yeah,
Optic nerve. Or something.
optic nerve.
That's too simple.
That's
It
a
can't
lot
be
of
that.
nerve.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
of
of
nerve.
On the other side of the digital optic nerve, you can't see this. There's a garden here with the people sitting around, and there's flowers, and there's two dogs. And it's just, I mean, and it's just, there's somebody out there in the street looking with a little kid on the shoulders there. Come on in if you can, you know? Yeah. Do this song from my mother.
Yeah.
Now, I sang, my mother died at home, and I sang for her as she went. My father didn't approve of me playing the guitar like this, but my mother was fine with it. You know, she was my mom. And she had a good sense of justice. She did. And she wasn't nice about it if niceness was not called for. And I know she would like this story, so it's called Angeline. True story. In this beautiful country in which I'm living, there is a story that you'll find about a woman named Kiki Soul Blue, and how they called her Angeline. Angeline, Kiki Soul Blue. She was the eldest daughter of Chief Seattle. She watched the world disappear. She said, you can build your town around me. I'm not going anywhere. Angeline, Kiki Soul Blue. And there was the fine and expensive wife of Doc Maynard, who did find her into something to be owned. When she said, you're much too beautiful for such an ugly name. From now on you will be known as Angeline, not Kiki Soul Blue. And they made her illegal, and all of her people and the children threw rocks behind her back. Oh, but Kiki Soul Blue had some rocks of her own, and she threw them back. So blue. Landlord, landlord, look over your shoulder. Careful who you're talking to. Maybe somebody you stole something from. Come to take it back from you. Angeline, Kiki Soul Blue. So many thieves, for all that they have taken, they leave us with a world full of holes. Oh, but we have rocks, we have heroes, and we will not do what we are told. Angeline, Kiki Soul Blue. All right, now, in a case like mine, you don't have a mother without having a father. So this is a song about my dad, who was a NASA engineer. He was not necessarily a rocket scientist, but pretty close. He lived next door to rocket scientists, if you know what I mean. My dad always walked around with a, one of those things I was talking about, slide rule, thank you, in his pocket. I'm gonna get me one of these days with a clip on it. Anyway, this song is not necessarily entirely true, but it is sort of. Okay, it is sort of true. It is sort of true. It took until he was like 91 years old or 90 years old before we actually talked real to each other. Life is like that sometimes. So it's called Big Round World. I didn't know my father to sing. I never heard a note. was an engineer with a slide rule in his shop coat. Poetry was not in his nature, nor whimsy his forte. I didn't know my father could sing until I heard him sing one day. He was 91 years old, and we were shooting the breeze about the times when people listened to different melodies. And there was one in particular that had a certain kind of swing. So he sat up a little straighter in his chair and he began to sing. And there was Lily Marlene and a bicycle built for two, and the sun going down the orchard town in the light of the mountain view. And sometimes he sang out loud when there was no one around. It was a great big world, and it just kept spinning around. Now the funny thing is, back in the day before all our tables were turned, I was the one trying to sing a song that I just heard. And he was looking at me like maybe like I was a fool, and maybe I was. But I just kept going. And that's what a fool does. And I was yelling at him, and he was yelling at me. And I couldn't hear, and he couldn't see. And I slammed the door, and I was gone. And 50 years later, he's singing me a song. Well, he's gone now, out to where all of us will go, past the walls and the bridges of the goodbye hello. But for all of the songs and the way I do what I do, I think I understand a little better. This one's for you. 'Cause there was Lily Marlene and a bicycle built for two, and they moved on down to the orchard town, and they had a kid or two. And sometimes they sang out loud when there was no one around. It was a great big world, and it just kept spinning around. It was a great big world, and it just kept spinning around. All right. Hold on. I think that's three. Is that three songs?
That's three.
That's three?
Yeah.
Can they be any length?
Absolutely.
Because I have one which is a blow, blind blow ballad of the disassembly and reassembly of a Volkswagen engine.
I'd say you start at the start and you see how long that you stay interested in that one, and then we'll be right there with you along the way.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I like
Well,
that.
what we do like to do about halfway through the set from our guests is, there's obviously going to be a bit of banter,
Yeah.
but then sometimes we like to go a little deeper, so sort of more of a...
Planter.
Yeah, Terry Gross. I'm going to... David usually takes over this portion of the show, but he's left it to me today.
Okay.
And so I'm going to have two questions for you. This is not just, a couple songwriters
Yeah,
sitting
right.
around with D35s and, admiring the wear and tear on the front, and
I was doing that,
waiting to
actually.
exchange stories about how our luthiers cringe when we walk in to have work done, and they
Yeah,
say things.
The borders are so clear on those things.
It's the depth of color that I'm in envy of. Not to mention the bubbling going on
Oh,
the
yeah,
pick
well, that's-
guard.
yeah,
That is
yeah, I know.
psychedelic.
That's
I
hard.
would have had to have been in California in 1967 to have that sort of bubbling happening on the pick guard. So switching to Terry Gross mode here, I have two questions for you. Two Terry Gross questions. The first one is just for all of us locals here. We want to ask you, can you tell us about your very first gig in Bellingham?
My very first gig in Bellingham. Oh my goodness. It might have been, there was a Chinese restaurant I played at. It might have been there, and I do not remember the name of it. It would have been like 77 or something like that.
We're looking to
back
Jim
there.
Cool here for and Jennifer. Where was the Chinese restaurant?
I don't remember. I had no idea.
Uncle Chen's on Cornwall hosted Jim Page in 1977. What would you give? How many fingers off your hand would you give to have been there then? That was, well, of course you could have been playing to a bunch of people eating food who didn't care.
Right, who didn't care. Yeah, but no, people actually came to see me.
I love
They
that.
did, yeah.
I love it when people go to see anyone, even if it's not me. I mean, it's just like that's that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I know.
So it was a Chinese restaurant and they fed you.
I don't remember that. I don't remember anything about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I just remember doing the gig, and I remember a couple of people that I knew from Seattle came up because it turned out that maybe they were students or something. See, I was playing at the University of Washington a lot on the grounds. I was a professor of worldology is what I called myself. And I would go out there and I would gather people by improvising lyrics until I had a crowd, enough for a crowd, then I would start singing. And, I was able to think in three places at the same time back in those days. I was 27 years old, and I could be aware of what I was doing, what I had done, and what I will be doing, because I'm planning my next song while I'm doing this one, which is based on the one I just done back there. See, it's like you got to keep continuity going. And as soon as I realized that people were going to start wandering off, I would improvise again, draw more of them in, keep them there, do another song, and some of those people wound up they lived in Bellingham. So, I had people come up and see me, so that was cool.
They said, "Come on up to Frank's chow mein house,
Frank's Chop House, yeah.
Uncle Chen's," and
It was a good gig, though. I mean, Bellingham's a great town. I mean, I wound up playing they have a folklore society up here or something. I played with them a couple of times, the Rotor Home. Yeah, it's a great place, man. There's a theater downtown. Boy, with like bleacher seats in it that I played at. This was like maybe 15 years ago, not that long ago. I did a gig with Dana Lyons. Maybe that was the gig with Dana Lyons.
well, definitely Uncle Chen's was gone by then, so you couldn't go back there. But you might have gone. You might have, if you could have. You maybe would have. I mean, it depends if you like the food. Yeah. So the second question is that it's a true false, but please tell us as much as you wish to. There are people who have said that when you first toured Ireland, your booking agent had no telephone.
Right.
Yeah, people have told me this, and I've never, I don't know whether.
He used the phone in the hallway.
He used the phone in the hallway.
Well, actually, though, but the first time I toured Ireland, I was the opening act for Planksty. Okay, so they had telephones and all that kind of stuff because they were hot shot, and it was
They had mobile phones actually at that point, probably.
practically.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I didn't really know what I was doing for the first couple of gigs. I didn't realize who I was opening for.
Oh, cool.
Because it was like you're opening for the Rolling Stones, right?
The
Of Irish
Planksty,
music.
they were called the Beatles. I've not heard the Rolling Stones, but I suppose.
I didn't hear either one of them, but
Yeah.
that was the level that
Yeah,
it was. 'Cause,
and were people coming out with that sort of enthusiasm to see them?
Yeah,
Wow.
they re-energized, and as it was all political because it was Ireland is a very political country, but in an organic sense. It's not like they read the Noam Chomsky books and then come in and then read
Yeah.
and then act it out.
Yeah,
Okay, it's organic. People will do it without even knowing what the descriptors are for what they're doing. So we had like a gig in a theater in Ireland. In those days, they used movie theaters for gigs. You'd play there in the off night, because most of the theaters had prosceniums, proscenium stages, and so they would just keep the curtain closed and you'd play in front of the curtain. And they're nice rooms, man. The sound is really good in there. And we were going to do one, but it turned out that the owners were like non-union or something like that. So at the last moment, Christie pulled the plug on it. Okay, we're not playing there. So we wound up playing in University of, what town was that? I don't even know what town that was. I want to say Galway, but I can't remember. Oh, man, it's been so long. And we had this, the back room area was where the dons of the university. I mean, university had the hierarchy system where the hierarchy professors.
I'm familiar with the deans, but not the dons.
Yeah, well, the deans are up till if a dean is up all night, they pick up a don.
We do have some professors and retired professors in the room. I've never called Damani Dean or Don,
Yeah.
but maybe now that I'm more educated.
But anyway, So and once I realized, oh my God, I'm opening for the Rolling Stones. I think I did like a nervous gig.
Yeah.
And then I had to get over that because I mean they were great to work with. They were fabulous people, great musicians. Christy had me on stage playing with the band. He loved the Hiroshima song, so they played with me on Hiroshima, which was a train wreck. Because I don't change the chords where they're supposed to. I change it. It's all weird and twisted.
You may not even change them at the same place at the same time from night to
not.
night.
And they didn't, they're like, oh, but they're, generous and open-spirited and everything.
Wow.
And then he had me up there to play along on a couple of jigs and reels, which I didn't know what the hell these things are. And I'm up there but nobody's plugged in, so the audience couldn't even hear me anyway. So I'm sure it was fine. There's probably even tapes of it. Deadheads are probably passing them around, So
there's tapes of music, but nothing was plugged in.
nothing was plugged
And
in.
once I think on that one a little while, I will have a deeper
all
comprehension of
It was all microphones.
Yeah,
is what I mean.
yeah.
We all, everything we did was on microphones.
And no clip-on electronic tuners. And I've asked people of another generation. I said, "Well, how did you get by?" And people said, "Well, we played out of tune quite a bit."
Yeah,
Yeah,
true. That's true. You really play out of tune. But I mean,
Which I carry on myself because I figure if it was good enough for my idols, I'll do the same. I just. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for going down.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's it. That was that. We're soft. We're not heavy hitters here. We just you took us into the picture house in Limerick, where on the off night they would allow some folk music.
Woody Guthrie, who was one of my formative heroes. He could write a song, I tell you. Everybody knows. He had a song called Deportees that I used to do, also called Plane Wreck in Los Gatos. Now, I lived in the outskirts of San Jose, and I played in a town called Los Gatos. I played a place called the Wine Cellar, and there was a really cool bohemian scene in Los Gatos. So I thought, wow, Woody Guthrie wrote a song about my town. It's a different Los Gatos, different place. But the song is called Deportees, and it's about migrant workers and how they get basically dehumanized when anything happens. They were just turned into numbers. The chorus is, you know the song. So I took that song and I took it apart and put it back together, and I called it Collateral Damage. And it's like this. You loved your sweet country for all of your life, like your mother and father before you. And the land runs deep, so deep in your blood, your flesh and your bone and your sinews. Descendants and ancestors deep as it goes, a relative circle as far as your eye. It can all be undone in the flash of an instant. Mechanical thunder that bruises the sky and bruises the sky. Goodbye to my relatives all of my life. Never again will I see. You won't have a name when they fly the big airplanes, and all they will call you will be deportee. I kind of put the songs there together, didn't I? You
You did. I was worth you.
Wasn't that cool? Wasn't that cool?
That was
on
cool.
purpose too. All of my never again will I see. You won't have a name when they fly the big airplanes. Collateral damage is all you'll be. All you'll be. From a faraway place where the language is strange, they come with their angry machines, and the clouds rain a metal that hurts when it falls, and it shatters the ground, making everything scream, and the children run crippled, the old people hide, the babies are caught in the rubble debris, but the strangers don't know you were only a number, underreported, name when they fly the big airplanes. Collateral damage is all you'll be, all you'll be. A mother is more than a number to a baby who now has to grow up on its own. And a grandfather blinded and crippled at his age is more than just a statistical drone. All of these people are human, and humans are more than a footnote. This cynical language of killing is killing us, cut like a bone in humanity's throat, humanity's throat. Goodbye to my relatives, all of my life, never again will I see. You won't have a name when they fly the big airplanes. Collateral damage is all you'll be, all you'll be. So if you see a ghost in the lonely wind blowing like shrapnel, the sound of the rain, and it's speaking a language you don't understand, but you know what it means just the same. There's no time for innocence, all of that's over now. Don't say that you didn't know. When they come to collect for the damages owed, the collateral may be your own. Maybe your own. Goodbye to my relatives, all of my life, never again will I see. You won't have a name when they fly the big airplanes. Collateral damage is all you'll be, all you'll be. All right. One more. Or
Yeah. Yeah, here's what we're gonna do. Jim is gonna do. We asked him to do 5 here, so he'll do another, and then we'll play a little more. But I'm gonna tell you what. I'm starting to get cold. I know all of you are getting cold too. So we're not gonna knock it down and do audience abuse and drag you into hyperthermic situations here. But we are gonna keep the song going just a little bit more, the show going a bit more because we're having a good time. But one thing I have to let you know, in case you don't know and don't remember, is that at a certain point you will be asked to send us a request segment of the show called Stump the Band. That'll be your chance to send a request up to the bandstand, and so be thinking about that. Just be thinking about that. What it is that you would like either Jim or I or both of us to play. Now don't get to choose who plays it, and I don't think that the microphone is actually going out to the live audience, but I think you can hear me because I'm seeing recognition in the faces of the people out there. What recognition is possible at a temperature that, by the number isn't that cold, but I can tell that when you've been sitting long enough, it gets cold. But I'm chatting away. They were so happy to have Jim here. Going to keep him rolling, and then we'll get on with the Stump the Band, or maybe not just then.
We'll see how this goes. I don't think this is a Balron song, but it might be.
Oh,
Take a look.
yeah.
See what you think. Have another drink. Where the car's got stuff in it. Whoa, is this still on? Yeah, it is. Where the car's got stuff in it, I'm ready to roll. I got one eye open for the highway patrol. I got the other eye open for the freeway sign. 300 miles and I'm making good time. And my stomach's growling, but my head's been fed. Going down to Eugene to see the Grateful Dead. There's lots of drop beats in there, you'll love it. Tape decks blowing out a rattling sound. In a sympathetic rhythm to the wheel go round. Sports cars eat me up, have a life. This thing don't do more than 55. But I can sleep in the back. It's a roadside bed going down to Eugene to see the Grateful Dead. Well, now everybody needs a little break sometimes. Life gets too precise. Take a little trip on the old straight line and take some strange advice. Well, I'm rolling into town, I'm all eyes and ears. Look at all those people I haven't seen in years. Tripped out hipsters, a rag and bone. Young Neophytic tie-dye cellular telephone. Sister Selena and her Uncle Fred are going down to Eugene to see the Grateful Dead. Power on time, here we go. Talking about coming into town on a Volkswagen bus, man. Them things are top heavy. You don't turn off the freeway too fast, you roll right over. 40,000 people in a great big bowl. They're all rocking to the rhythm of the roll. Some are falling in love, some are counting their money. Some are spinning in circles as their eyes get funny. Oh, but isn't that just about the way they said? I'm going down to Eugene to see the Grateful Dead. I'm going out into the parking lot and might get lost. Best place in the world to get your wires crossed. Reality shatters when you leap out and shout. Some people go in and they never get out. Never been since my sister's fled. I'm going down to Eugene to see the Grateful Dead. Here we go. Yes, everybody needs a little break sometimes. Life gets too precise. Take a little twist of the old straight line and take some strange advice. Well, you can take my work, we can throw it away. I'll put a penny in a parking meter any day. Hang up the phone bill and let it fade. Landlord's gonna have to wait to get paid. 'Cause I ain't got no use for your overhead. I'm going down to Eugene to see the Grateful Dead. Yes, my stomach's growling, but my head's been fed. Going down to Eugene to see the Grateful Dead. One more time. There we go. There we go.
That's my friend Jim Page there coming at you live from Robert Sarazin Blake from the kitchen table with David Penderlofgren over on the right on the bow run and
Dan,
making
good.
all the ones and the zeros and the cables connect from our screen to your screen, our kitchen table, your kitchen table, wherever you may be. We have people listening in, I know, from Buffalo and from St. Louis and from
Good town.
Guelph, Ontario. Yes, Kimberly in Guelph, Ontario is the bartender at the kitchen table, and she chooses the drink of the week. So next time you tune in, you can check out the kitchen table irregular Facebook feed, and you'll know what drink we're all enjoying this week. We are so off kilter that nobody here. Well, David maybe got a sip of the drink of the week, but he was working. He was doing the work of 3 people over there, and he's only had the drink of 1 man. So we may have to rectify that after the show. Here's what we're going to do. I'll do one. You'll do one.
Yeah.
And in that situation, that'll give the audience a chance to come up with their requests. And I do like to remind the audience that this is like English class in junior high school, where you need to have an answer whether or not you want to have an answer. So I will call on somebody. I'm not asking for hands. I'm just going to call on people, and then we will know who has done the reading. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We have 2 songs. When you came up and played Boundary a couple summers ago, I mentioned Tom Pacheco to you.
Tom Pacheco, yeah.
Tom Pacheco.
Yeah.
And have you met him? Have you come across each other?
Yeah, and I'm in Ireland. I haven't heard him since.
Okay.
Long time.
Well,
Yeah.
cool. I got, he's one of this great songwriter that I only discovered 5 years ago, and he's got a million albums out, and I discovered him and listened to all of them, and I learned the song of his. I thought I'd play it today. I have a dream of you and Tom swapping songs at the Jamboree.
Be fun. Yeah.
And I'm the person who can make that happen. I
Absolutely.
mean, there's nobody else who would be responsible for that dream coming true, which is both a small burden and a great privilege. Heavenly Father, creator of all I can see, watch over my sister the way you have watched over me. Grant her protection from every danger she meets. Though she may stumble, let her always land on her feet. She's been unlucky, she's been betrayed. This time, please give her a good hand to play. Make every cloud that you cannot unrun be a shadow of a seagull in the sun. I haven't worried, knowing she's out there alone, searching for something inside that is deeper than bone. How long can somebody suffer so much for so long before they believe there's no reason at all to go on? Show her value with her own eyes, give her the wings that'll help her to fly. Make every cloud that you cannot unrun be a shadow of a seagull in the sun. She has taken far too many falls, worked so long and hard just to lose it all. Every crop she planted didn't yield. This time let her treasure fill her field. Guide her through valleys, clear a few trees from her path. Spare her the merciless winds and the cold winter's wrath. Guide her to some place of beauty where healing can start. Let the moon shine off the river and into her heart. Let her find purpose, let her find peace. From every prison, let her be released. Make every cloud that you cannot unrun be a shadow of a seagull in the sun. Let her find purpose, let her find peace. From every prison, let her be released. Make every cloud that you cannot unrun be a shadow of a seagull in the sun.
Nice.
Tom Pacheco's song.
Nice. Well, I'm going to sing a song, but first I want to say that I got a CD sitting down over there yonder way, and I showed it to you, and you said, well, you were going to. Let's bring this up. This is my new record right there, recorded in Seattle, and featuring one of Bellingham's own finest musicians, Joel Littman, is on that thing. That's right. Playing the drums like he does, drums percussion like only he can. So check that out if you want to. If you're into it, you can find it here and there. You can get it through my website, which is jimpage.net. And it's right there on the opening page, and that brings you somewhere else that brings you right to it. And this song is on there. It's a lot different on the record than it is. And I'm going to do it now because there's nobody else here playing it but me. But feel free to do whatever seems
All right.
It's called The Time Is Now, and it goes like this. It's called either The Time Is Now or The Time Is Now. Now is or Now Is the Time. It's got two titles. Okay, depending on what your mood.
Yeah.
Because it's the title of the record and it's also the name of the song. So, and it was written in the long history short. It was written during the summer of all those uprisings in America. The summer of George Floyd, the summer of Black Lives Matter, the summer of everybody going out and staying out, the summer of so many people knowing that something had to fundamentally change. Because you just can't ignore it anymore. You just can't ignore it anymore, no matter what those people over there say. So it's a real simple song, but it goes like this. are things to come and things to pass, pure and simple, made of glass. To feed the future, you eat to the past, to fix it fast, to make it last, and the time is now. Now is the time. Time is now. Now is the time. Time has come and time has gone to pick up roots, to move along, to rise up early before the dawn, to start outstanding, to come on strong, and the time is now. Now is the time. The time is now. Now is the time. You got eyes to see, you got ears to hear, and you know very well what's been happening here. Don't make light of the people's tears. Stand up and face your fears. And the time is now. Now is the time. The time is now. Now is the time. There was a time when the winter came, all the world turned cold. Will be a time when the spring arrives, and all the flowers unfold, and the future belongs. Oh, the future belongs to the bold. Don't let it scare you, the noise and the dare. So many millions arise everywhere. Polish the glass, hold it up to the air. Look in the reflection, you'll see yourself there. And the time is now. Now is the time. The time is now. Now is the time. Now we stand with the wind at our backs, and we are the eye of the storm. We look at the world and the world looks back. The drum beats a rhythm to warn that the future is just, oh, the future is just being born. Oh, the fuses were lit such a long ways away, and they'd stutter and spark, fade and decay. Now the clocks are on fire at the edge of the day, and we turn to each other and say, time is now. Now is the time. The time is now. Now is the time. Time is now. Now is the time. Time is now. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time.
Well, we have reached the time to stump the band, and I hope all of you have been thinking about something. Now is the time to stump the band right out of that. I mean, Jim was talking about something quite a bit deeper, but in the context of this show, now is the time for you to stump the band, and I hope you've been thinking of your requests. And I have a request that I'm just going to go ahead. Now, earlier when we were setting up and there were these critical conversations going on, like, Robert, we need the passcodes to get into this thing, and I'm trying to enjoy a Mother's Day brunch with my family. Round of applause for my partner, Aaron, and my daughter, Lena, for putting up with a Mother's Day with me on the stage here. And the phone is exploding. We're trying to enjoy brunch, and the phone says something like, "You are full of capacity. The phone is about to explode." And meanwhile, David's waiting for a second layer of verification so that they can get into the programs that bring this show to the world. Little did we know everybody here would be having sort of a sleepover vibe, and I just got it. You're all so cute out there. I've got to get a photo of everybody bundled up. I mean, who would have thought that Terry and Jennifer have blankets enough for an entire house concert? I didn't see that coming. Down comforters. You know, if you're ever having house guests and you're running short on blankets, Jennifer will get you sorted. You're such troopers to be out here in this cold weather, and then you can't drive home. They've had a few parties and where it was better for people to stay over, and luckily I've always lived close enough I could walk, and so I hadn't had, but I haven't vibed this. I've been on this deck before, and how about this structure above us? This beautiful timber frame structure above us. Round of applause, gorgeous. Now, okay, and on that subject, we're just going to go straight to Jeff, and Jeff is the man who designed this, and with the help of Terry when Terry asks, Terry, of course, is our host here for those of you in the live audience. You have no idea who Terry is. I'm running the lip about Terry. Terry asks for friends. He's like, whispers it to one person at happy hour on Thursday, and 35 men show up on Saturday to help put this thing together. I mean, there was a poker game going on, there was croquet going on, and there were 17 men working. It was a great work party. I was on the croquet. So, but getting to the question here, Jeff, what can we play for you? This is request number one. To remind everybody how it works, we get all three requests right at the top, and then we look at each other, Jim and I, and we say who can do what or what can we not do, and then we take it from there. Jeff, your request is? So even if I know it, I'm not allowed to play it because he's going straight to you, so I'm off the hook on. Okay, that's request number one. Then we go straight to number two before we worry too much about anything. And let's just see who looks the most afraid sometimes. I'm like the English teacher, like who definitely hasn't. No, our first guest tonight, and she's in the neighborhood, and we really appreciate you being here. We can tell you're cold, but there are some people, I just want everybody to think about this, there are people who say it's good for your health to get cold. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Jim Harrison, my partner Aaron turned me on to Jim Harrison, great author from Michigan, and his characters love to go outside just to get cold. Yeah, Terry's from Michigan. He's like, yeah, I love that. I lived in Michigan. I just go outside and get cold. When you live in the Pacific Northwest, you don't have to try to be cold because it's just cold. But our request comes from I think it's Kathy. Is it Kathy? Okay, that's all right, Kathy. You're so sweet. I can't, do anything but say that's okay. That's okay. I mean, no, you can't think of anything at all. Okay. Titles, yeah. Just themes. The thing of theme. Yeah. We're good with themes. Way better with themes than titles. We're going to let you think about themes while I go on to request number 3. And let's go with the ambitious man, the ambitious man who wore a straw hat to this day, where it was advertising a high of 52, wore the straw hat. What can we play for you? Blues. We got Skip, council member Skip is I'm not sure this is legal for you to actually give people answers now that you're a council member. There could be some protocols about that, feeding answers to people. So we're going to go with blues as request number 3. We'll take that very openly. And we're going to float back to question number 2, and Kathy's going to give us a theme of which we even gave you. Okay, we're going to let Kathy off the hook because I think we're either going to do Draft Dodgers Rag or something on the theme of a blues. Is something coming to you?
Well, I know the chorus of Draft Dodger Rag. I don't know the whole song, but I know that. I can do that.
Well, there we are. That's a start. We'll take it, and we'll see who has the blues at the end of that.
Well, I'm only 16. I got a ruptured spleen, and I always carry a purse. I got eyes like a bat, my feet are flat, my ass was getting worse. Thinking my career, my
Sweetheart dear, my poor old indolent aunt.
And I ain't no fool.
I'm going to school and I'm working in a defense plant.
And there's more, but that's all I know. That's all I know, but I know that part.
Do it again.
Do it again. Sarge, I'm only 18. I got a
Ruptured spleen and I always carry a purse.
My feet are flat.
And my asthma's getting worse. Think my career, my sweetheart dear, my poor old invalid aunt.
And I ain't no fool.
I'm going to school and I'm working in
a defense plant.
And see, when it comes to the 4th of July, I like to medley that one with, and it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. Next stop is Vietnam. And it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Well, it ain't no time to wonder why. Whoopee, we're all gonna die.
John McDonald. Yeah. You know Barry Melton produced my first record?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he did, yeah. The Fish, of Country Joe and the Fish, yeah.
And
And did you also know they were called Country Joe and the Fish because Joe Stalin's, one of Joe Stalin's nicknames was Country Joe, and the Fish referred to Mao Zedong because they were Berkeley, right? They were a political folk duo. It was just Joe and Barry. Barry told me that.
Joe and Barry.
Yeah. When they started dropping acid, they turned into this other thing. You know.
And what a thing it was.
Oh.
Where was the recording studio, your first record that was produced?
San Francisco was called His Master's Wheels.
This is one back, big old rolls of tape.
Oh yeah, man!
And were
they
there-
put four. They gave me 5 microphones.
And were there still men in lab coats at that time in the engineers' positions?
I don't remember that.
I love that about the Beatles shots. There's
But
the
they-
Beatles in
you
striped
no, you
colors.
smoked in there. People smoked in the studio.
I mean,
Tape. And,
people
you know,
were
cigarette
smoking
ash.
in the hospital when I was born, and I think that kind of faded away. You know, certainly by the time I was on the fathering end of the hospital room here in Bellingham, I was not smoking, but. Every photograph of a respectable doctor up until about 1965 had a
Yeah,
cigarette.
there were ashtrays in the arms in the chair arms of the movie theaters in Ireland. You sit there with an ashtray and
It was great. I mean, as my friend Francis Donovan, the great sculptor here in Bellingham, says, when they took smoking out of the bars, they took any sense of danger out of our lives. Well, Jim, I hope we have you back at the kitchen table another time because we have so much more to say and to play, but it's too cold to go on much longer. This is a very loyal audience for me, and I want them to stay. I don't want to drive them any further into hypothermia. Thank you very much for being here. We like to close with this song here. Next time you're in Cork City, I'm in D flat.
you're in D flat.
Yeah, that's in Bellingham. D is D flat. There's a certain thing that happens when you cross from Skagit into Whatcom. We take it a little bit lower and we go a little bit slower. And there's no A chord in the song, by the way, so that might throw you off if you were looking. Oh, Robert's going to play a song with an A chord. I don't think there's an A. I can't remember. Monday nights in Cork City, there's a bar called Charlie's. My buddy Hank Waddell plays. Hank and Ray play every Monday night. So call into them if you ever got a night off in Cork City. And you can tell them Robert plays his song. Where are we? Well, it's great to see you. Because we thought you were dead. Did you come back to life? Did you get out of your bed? It's great to see you. I'm in D flat, not D sharp. I'm very embarrassed now. I'm very embarrassed. I saw you and I got nervous. Yeah. Nothing to say, but I was wrong. I'm learning that sometimes I just need to say, I was wrong. It's great to see you. Because we thought you were dead. To come back to life. To get out of your bed. It's great to see you. Or was that your ghost? Thought you were gone. Burnt toast, it's great to see you. I whisper nothing, sing softly on the ear. Try not to cut short the moment that's here. Shadow it might be, feeling's clear. I couldn't ask for anything more. Be mine. It's all about the times we share. It's all about the times we share. So it's great to see you. You're gonna stay. You're here for the long night. Are you waiting till the break of day? It's great to see you. Yeah, it's true. It's great to see you. It's great to be near you. It's all about the times we share. Sing it with us now. Sing it with us here on Mason Street in the northwest corner of the most northwest state, the lower 48, Bellingham, Washington. The city that is famous for Frank's Chop House. Frank's Uncle Chen's. Famous for Uncle Chen's. They presented great folk music in the 1970s, which was happening in the 1970s, but by the time the 80s came around and people were listening to Journey, they went out of business. What can we say? We remember them now. We also encourage everybody out there, wherever this kitchen table may be, from St. Louis to Buffalo to Ontario to Dublin City and to Dublin Town and places in between. It's all about the times we share. That's my kid over there. It's all about the times we share. Anything you'd like to say, Jim?
Oh, it's good to be here. I don't mind a cold. And then I'm wearing a sweatshirt and a sweatshirt under that. So I'm feeling warm as toast time, I'm told, but it's such a fine sight to see in it. Fine scene. Thank you very much. I don't know, it's really sweet.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you got going.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All the better with yourself, and we hope to have you back again. And please, everybody, Jim's got this CD. I'm looking at an audience which has a way higher percentage of people who still listen to CDs than the normal than the average audience.
Yeah,
I
the
think,
younger
yeah.
people don't listen
They
to
don't- they
CDs,
don't
they
even-
listen to vinyl.
Well, you know what's cool about that is that they're anti-accumulation. I like the anti-accumulation aspect, but I grew up in a time where accumulation of things like books, records, CDs defines aspects of your personality. And when you met people for the first time, you looked at each other's books and you knew a little bit about each other. And that's over now. You would have to look at each other's phones, which is creepy. So what can we say that we're glad you're here? Pick up Jim's CD, and please, everybody, do make a contribution to the show. We ask a $20 contribution for being in this live audience, a $10 contribution, and if you're wondering about how to do that, I've got these great little cards that I just printed up. I've been meaning to print up these cards for a year, and you can use you can do all these different things. Where are we? Let's wrap this thing up. Thank you, everybody. As Jim Harrison says, it's good to get cold. It's good to get cold. We've gotten cold together. And the best thing about getting cold is you can warm up. Let's wrap this. Where were we? That's Jim Page, David Penderlofkin, and new to the team, his first time on the job. Please make him feel as appreciated as I appreciate him. That's John Henry. Where were we? It's all about the times we share. It's all about the times we share. It's all about the times we share. We'll see you next Sunday. Thank you, everybody. Right here in the live and on the live stream. We'll see you next time.